Heidi Heckelbeck is a flower girl. Chapter 1, Miss Harris. Heidi Heckelbeck had a lot on her mind. She had been spying on Principal Pennypacker for more than a week because she was pretty sure he was a witch. Why else would he have a book of spells in his office? At least that's what the book looked like. Now she had to prove that he was a witch. And on top of her witch detective work, Heidi had also been asked to be on a flower girl on her Aunt Sophie's wedding. Aunt Sophie was Dad's sister. Soon he was going to marry Uncle Ned in the Heckelbeck's backyard. Well, Uncle Ned wasn't actually Heidi's uncle yet. Not until after the wedding, but Heidi and Henry had called him Uncle Ned ever since he got engaged into Aunt Sophie. Now Heidi had to go dress shopping. Ugh, thought Heidi as she stood in the middle of Miss Harris' dress. Shop. She had never shopped for a fancy dress before. Now she was surrounded by them. Miss Harris looked Heidi up and down. Then she sniffed through the dress racks and pulled out dresses in a rainbow of pastel colors: strawberry, mint, yellow, cream, and blue. You made an exchange flower girl in any one of these, holding the flouncy dresses in front of Heidi. Heidi frowned. I'll look like a poofy powder puff in any one of those dresses, she thought. It wasn't that Heidi hated dresses. It's just that they weren't exactly herself. Just more of everyday girl. Heidi followed her mother into the dressing room. Then she put off her favorite kitty cat top and jean skirt. Heidi left on her black and white striped tights and sneakers. Then she snipped a strawberry dress over her head. Mom tied the satin sash around Heidi's waist. The dress had a scratchy skirt that stuck out like a giant lampshade. I feel like I'm caught in the fishing net, complained Heidi, and the skirt part is itchy. It's called criminal, said Heidi's mom. It's a very fancy dress material. Heidi glanced in the mirror. Looks like something Smell and I would wear, she said. Milan Mattergroup, also known as Melanite, was Heidi's worst enemy. Forgot Milan, said Mom. That dress is too pink with your red hair. Let's try another one. Heidi tried on another dress and another and another. The mint dress made her like she had slept in a wink. The lemon yellow dress made her look like a glass of lemonade. And the cream dress made her look like a miniature bride. Then Mom zipped the blue dress and tied the sash. Heidi looked in the mirror. She turned the way and looked at herself. I love it, said Mom. Love is such a strong word, said Heidi, but it looks very good on you, said Mom. Heidi scratched her neck. The ruffles make me itch, she said. You'll get used to them, said Mom. You won't even realize they're there when you walk around the easel. Merk, said Heidi. Beautiful, perfect, exclaimed Miss Harris. Except for the black and white striped tights and sneakers. Miss Harris scurried into another room and came back with a pair of light blue ballet flats. She also brought Heidi a basket to hold her flower petals. Heidi had been told a flower girl had to sprinkle flower petals all along the wedding aisle. Heidi slipped her on the blue flats and stared at her feet. Ew, she thought as she wrinkled her nose. Quick, Miss Harris snapped Heidi's picture. Perfect, said Miss Harriet as she hurried to her computer to download the picture. I'll give you a copy to take home. The flash had made Heidi see spots. She rubbed her eyes. Then she stared at herself again in the mirror. Can I at least wear my blue and white striped tights with this girly outfit? Said Heidi. Sure, Mom said. Be your own flower girl. And that made Heidi feel a teeny bit better. Chapter 2. A Bad Dream. Henry held a small sofa pillow on his hands like a tea tree. On top of the pillow sat a red ring pap. He walked slowly across the kitchen and began careful not to drop the ring pop. Look at me, he cried. I'm a ring bear. Heidi rolled her eyes. You mean a ring bear ear, she said. Whatever, said Henry. He circled the kitchen table. I get to carry the rings that Uncle Ned and Aunt Sophie give each other. Big whoop, said Heidi. I also get to wear a tuxedo, Henry added. Double big whoop, said Heidi. Your Aunt Sophie's wedding is a very big whoop, Dad said. All I know is that I have to wear poofy party dresses, said Heidi. I can't wait to see that, said Henry. Merk, growled Heidi as she stomped out of the ring. That night, Heidi had a bad dream about the wedding. In her dream, the skirt on her fancy party dress had grown enormous. The ruffles around her neck had climbed all the way up to her chin. Then she realized it was her turn to walk down the aisle. The guests all stared at her. Heidi tried to bend over and to pick her basket of petals, but she couldn't. She tried again and tipped over. Heidi lay on her stomach, kicking her feet like a bug in the swimming pool. Then bang! Just like that, she woke up, except she was still kicking. Heidi had gotten all twists in her covers. Finally, she wiggled free off the sheets and sighed in relief. Later at school, Heidi told her friend Lucky Lancaster about the wedding and the flower girl dress. You're so lucky! Lucky exclaimed. I always wanted to be in a wedding. Do you want to trade places? Asked Heidi. Very funny, said Lucky. So what's your dress look like? I bought a picture, Heidi said, but you have to promise not to laugh. Promise, said Lucky. Heidi reached into her back pocket and pulled out the photo Miss Harriet had taken in the store. She stared at Lucky, but before Lucky got it, Milan snatched out of Heidi's hand. Let me see, cried Milan. Hey, that's mine, cried Heidi. Milan looked at the picture and squealed with laughter. Oh my gosh, cried Smell Night in between giggles. That dress is so icky. Stanley Sternwecker snuck up Milan and grabbed the photo out her hand. Milan kept right on laughing. As Stanley looked at the picture, wow, Heidi, said Stanley as he handed the picture back to Heidi. You look great in that dress, Milan huffed in disgust. Lucky peeked at the photo. Stanley's right. You do look great, she said, and P.S. Milan. If you think that dress is too licky, you should get a whole new wardrobe. Milan folded her arms and turned off her nose. I bet Heidi won't be able to walk in the dress, said Milan. She'll probably trip and fall when she walks down the aisle. Heidi couldn't believe what Milan had just said. It was as if she knew Heidi had a bad dream about falling down at the wedding. How does she do that? Heidi thought. And what if I really do fall down in front of everybody? It was too awful to think about. Chapter 3. Lilac Powder. On Saturday, Heidi helped Aunt Trudy clean out her basement. Aunt Trudy was Mom's sister, and she was also a witch. Aunt Trudy had the best cast-offs. Heidi had gotten things like glass beans, jeweled charms, funky buttons, pressed flowers, and empty makeup containers. Cleaning at Aunt Trudy's home was like going on a treasure hunt. Today, Aunt Trudy had a whole list of things for Heidi to do. She had her fold clothes for giveaway boxes, pack boots for the library book drive, and clean shelves. On one shelf, Heidi found a shoebox filled with seashell sea glass and dried starfish. She poked through the box. These shells are so... Heidi said. Aunt Trudy looked over her shoulders. I collected them ages ago, she said. Feel free to give them or put them in a giveaway box. Heidi set the shoebox in her take-home pile. Then she got back to work. Heidi thought about the wedding as she dusted off a shelf. Aunt Trudy, have you ever been a flower girl? She asked. Aunt Trudy tossed the book into one of the boxes. No, she said, but I always dreamed of being one. You did, questioned Heidi. Why? Because being a flower girl is a special honor, said Aunt Trudy, and you also get to wear a fancy dress and walk down the aisle. Yeah. said Heidi. That's the worst part, if you ask me. Don't you like dress up? Asked Aunt Truddy. Well, sometimes, edited Heidi. I don't like to be in the spotlight. Why not? Said Aunt Truddy. Because what if I trip and fall in front of the guest? Aunt Truddy looked over the top of her glasses. So what did you did? She said. It would make a good story. I just don't like it, said Heidi. Aunt Truddy put her arm around her knees. Being the spotlight is special, she said, and your Aunt Sophie picked you to be her flower girl because she loves you and thinks you'll do a good job. I know, mumbled Heidi. Just pretend you're on a fashion show runway in Paris, said Aunt Truddy. Heidi tried to picture herself in a runway in Paris. It actually sounded kind of fun. And then her aunt picked up a pile of old winter clothes and put them on a card table in front of Heidi. Let's fold these and put them in the shopping bag, Aunt Truddy said. Heidi nodded and pulled a sweater from the pile. Something fell onto the floor. It was a little scuttle. It must have been wrapped in the sweater, thought Heidi. She picked it up in the saddle and undid the drawstring. The bag was filled with purple powder. Heidi sniffed the powder. Achoo! 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 Bless you, said Aunt Truddy. She held Heidi a tissue and then she began to laugh. What's so funny? Heidi said, whipping her nose. The eyelid powder, said Aunt Truddy. The eyelid powder makes witches sneeze. It does? Yup, every time, Aunt Truddy said. Heidi found this very interesting. Does it all work on all witches? She asked. Every last one. Wow, Heidi thought. I could use this eyelid powder on Principal Pennypacker. If he sneezes, I'll know sure he's a witch. May I take this satchel home? Heidi said. Sure, said Aunt Truddy as she began to sweep the flour. I got plenty of eyelid powder. Heidi stuffed the satchel into her pocket. She had forgotten all about being a flower girl. Now all she could think was how to get Principal Pennypacker to smell the eyelid powder. Chapter 4. Flower Power. On Monday, Heidi spied on Principal Pennypacker at school. She had figured out exactly how she was going to get him to sniff the powder. But she had to find a way. She sat on the school steps and watched the principal oversee the children and drop off. He waved and talked to the parents who had rolled down their car windows. Thought Heidi. Drop off is too busy. I'll have to find a better time. On the way to art class, Heidi saw Principal Pennypacker giving a tour to a mother and two children. Heidi remembered what it was like to be new. I'm sure glad that's not me, she thought. Heidi paused at the water fountain. And as she drank, keep an eye on the principal. He showed the family and the student artwork hanging in the hallway. I'll never get him to sniff the lilac powder when he's on a school tour, he thought. Heidi wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and continued down the hall. Principal Pennypacker smiled as she passed by. At lunch, Heidi chose a seat at the family table. The principal sat on the head of the table. She watched him eat a slice of pizza. If only I can sprinkle a little lilac powder on this pizza, thought Heidi, but it would be way too obvious. Lucky and Bruce Pickleson set their lunch trays down to Heidi. So how's the flower girl thing going? Same, said Heidi, mostly boring and pretty dumb. Lucky laughed. You're so funny, she said. Most girls would give anything to be a flower girl. Heidi shrugged and pulled the cheese off her pizza. Not me. At recess, Heidi stood in line for Forrest Grill and watched Principal Pennypacker. He was talking to her teacher, Miss Welly. Darn, thought Heidi. He's always with somebody. Then she noticed a pack of dandelions on the playing field behind the principal and her teacher. This gave Heidi an idea. She stepped out of the line, ran to the field, and began to pick dandelions. Then she pulled the satchel of lilac powder from her pocket. Heidi undid the string and sprinkled the powder on top of flowers. Then she skipped toward the principal with her bouquet. Hello, Heidi, said the principal. I hear you're going to be on a wedding this weekend. What fun! Sort of, Heidi said. Then held the flowers in a sniffing rage. Do you like to smell my fresh picked flowers? Principal Pennypacker leaned over. Why, I love them, he said. He smelled the dandelions. Heidi waited for a big sneeze, but nothing happened. She pulled the dandelions out under the principal's nose and walked away. That's weird, she thought. Heidi sniffed the dandelions to see the powder still worked. Achoo! 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 Merg, thought Heidi as she tossed the dandelions into the bushes. I guess Principal Pennypacker is not a witch after all. She was a bit disappointed. It had been fun spying on him. Oh well, she thought. She ran back to Forest Square game. Chapter 5, Pirate Booty. Wedding Tug was the only tug at Heckelbeck's house all week. On Friday, a large van delivered tables, chairs, and a large white hat. On Saturday, several people in marching aprons set the tables and cooked food in the Heckelbeck's kitchen. The wedding would begin at 4 o'clock that afternoon. Soon it was time to get ready. Dad, Uncle Ned, and Henry dressed in Henry's room. Mom, and Sophie and Aunt Trudy got ready in Heidi's parents' bedroom. Mom clasped Aunt Sophie's pearl necklace. Aunt Trudy tied Heidi's sash and clipped a power glue But this dress is itching me, said Heidi. Heidi did her best to hold still. Then Henry burst in the bedroom in his tuxedo. He had a plastic sword in his hand and a black eye patch in his left eye. Ahoy, me hearties! Cried Henry as he jumped onto an ottoman and pretended to scan the horizon. Heidi ignored Henry's behavior, but she studied his outfit. "You look like a miniature man," she said. Henry planked his fist into his hips. "Man, me thinks I'm a well-dressed pirate, and my treasure chest is a choke full of loot." "What kind of loot?" asked Heidi. "I'd be better anything from my room. Sparkly jewels and dazzling gems," shouted Henry. "And today I added a very, very valuable ring to my treasure." Heidi had a funny feeling. She knew that what kind of ring Henry added to his loot. She ran across the ring, grabbed Henry by the arm, and dragged him over the hall. "Do you have Aunt Sophie's wedding ring?" asked Henry. "Of course," said Henry. "I'm the ring bearer." "The ring bearer," Heidi corrected. "Now where is it?" "What?" asked Heidi. Asked Henry. "The ring. It's in my treasure chest," Henry said. "Does Uncle Ned know you have it?" "No," Henry admitted. "Well, you better give it back," said Heidi. "But Dad gave it to me," urged Henry. "I don't care if Dad gave it to you. Get it now," said Heidi. "If Uncle Ned doesn't have the rings, he and Aunt Sophie won't be able to get married." "Oh no," said Henry. "Well, you have to help me to look at it." Heidi let the heavy sigh. "Come on," she said. "We haven't got much time before the wedding begins." Chapter 6. What if? Henry flipped open the skull latch on his wooden pirate chest and emptied the contents onto the playroom floor. Heidi and Henry combed through the silver and gold plastic coins and bead necklaces. Heidi spied a fake ring and plastic hot dog in the pile. But there wasn't a wedding ring. "I can't believe you really lost a ring," Heidi said. "I didn't mean it to," said Henry. "Maybe it's in the toy chest." She ran to the toy chest and flung open the lid. Then she began to toss puppets, dodgeballs, and plastic army men over her shoulder. Henry found a kaleidoscope. He peeked into the lens and squeezed the end of it. Heidi glared at Heidi. Put that down, she shouted. Don't you know that you're in huge trouble? Henry dropped the kaleidoscope and began searching through the trunk, but there was no ring. Heidi tipped over a tub full of sports equipment. Super balls and tennis balls rolled around the floor. What if we don't find the ring? Asked Henry. Then there won't be a wedding, said Heidi. And if there isn't a wedding, then what? I won't have to wear this dress, said Heidi. Hey, that's mean, Henry said. Besides, you look kind of pretty in the dress. Heidi stopped searching and looked at her brother. Thanks, little man. Then they carefully sorted through the sports equipment in the floor, but they still didn't find the ring. They looked upstairs, downstairs, and under the sofas and chairs, but the wedding ring was nowhere to be found. Let's face it, said Henry. I'm dead, pretty much, Heidi said, but I have an idea. Chapter 7, Razzle Dazzle. What's your idea? Asked Henry hopefully. Follow me. They zoomed down the hall to Heidi's room. Shut the door, said Heidi. Henry closed the door behind them. Then Heidi knelt on the floor and pulled her book of spells and her Witches of Westwick medallion under the bed. It's a good thing I'm a witch, said Heidi. I'm kidding, said Henry. Heidi ran her finger down the contents page and found a chapter called Jewelry. She flipped through the pages to a spell called Ring Replacer. What did it say? Heidi read the spell out loud. Has your favorite ring fallen down the drain? Perhaps your ring behavior in a wedding and you have no ring to bear? If you're a witch in need of a ring, then the ring replacer is the spell for you. Henry pounded his fist. I'm saved! He cried. You're not safe yet, said Heidi as she looked at her clock radio. The wedding starts in 30 minutes. Heidi read the spell ingredients and directions out loud. 1 paper clip, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 rhinestone. Mix the ingredients together in a bowl. Hold your Witches of medallion in one hand. Place your other hand on the mix and chant the following words. Razzle dazzle, bling, bling, bling. Turn this mix into a ring. Heidi put down the book of spells. Get a paper clip from my desk, said Heidi. Okay, said Henry. I'm going to get the sugar and rhinestone. Be right back. Heidi raced downstairs. She quickly measured a teaspoon of sugar and placed it in a small bowl. Then she ran back to her room and opened her dresser drawer. She pulled out her Dance Diva t-shirt and picked up a pink rhinestone. Then she dropped the rhinestone into the bowl. Henry added the paperclip. We're all ready, said Heidi. She slipped the medallion around her neck and held it in one hand. She placed it over the mix and chanted the spell. Heidi covered the bowl and they both looked outside. A ring with a huge pink stone and claw-like setting sat at the bottom of the bowl. Heidi picked it up. Whoa, she said. It's big and bold. added Henry. And all wrong, declared Heidi. It doesn't look anything like Aunt Sophie's wedding ring. Now what are we going to do? Asked Henry. There's only one thing left to do. Heidi said. What? Henry asked. Fess up, said Heidi. Chapter 8. The Real Thing. Heidi pushed Henry to his bedroom. She watched from the door to see what will happen. Uncle Ned smiled at Henry and did a deep knee bend in his tuxedo. Dad tied his bow tie. Ready to roll? Asked Dad. We have to be on our places in 15 minutes. Henry stood still in front of Dad. Is something the matter? Asked Dad. Henry looked at the floor. Well, sort of, he began. That's about Aunt Sophie's ring. The ring! Exclaimed Dad. I almost forgot. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out Aunt Sophie's ring. Henry's jaws dropped. Where did you find it? Nowhere, said Dad. I've had it all along. Henry blinked in disbelief. You didn't think I'd give you the real ring? Asked Dad with a wink. It wasn't real? Henry asked. No, said Dad. It was just for practice. Let's get your ring pillow ready. Henry grabbed the ring pillow from the top of his dresser. Then Dad snapped the ring in place. Uncle Ned attached his wedding band inside it. Can you take care of the rings until we exchange vows? Asked Uncle Ned. Definitely, said Henry, and I promise not to take my eyes up then. Great. Then let's have ourselves a wedding, said Dad. Chapter 9. A Little Princess. Heidi stepped into the backyard and gasped. At one end of the yard stood a wide garden archway sprinkled with pale pink roses. White folding chairs had been set up in rows of the archway with a path down the middle. Two of Heidi's cousins played guitars as the guests took their seats. On another side of the yard were tables decorated with white linens, vases, and votive candles. White paper lanterns had been strung from the tree branches. Next to the tables was a great white tent with tables, a dance floor, and a live band. Wow, said Heidi. This looks like something out of a fairy tale. Then it dawned on her. That must be why I'm dressed like a princess. Heidi felt a tingle of wedding magic. Here, said Mom, handing Heidi her flower girl basket. Heidi lifted the basket to her nose. She thought, the rose smells so sweet. Then she took her place next to Heidi, who held this ring pillow proudly. Then the guests had all begun seated, and the wedding music began. Henry went down the aisle first. Good luck, Heidi whispered. You too, Henry whispered back before walking down the aisle. Heidi followed behind Henry. She felt beautiful as she tossed the petals all along the aisle. All the guests smiled at Heidi, and she smiled back. Being in the spotlight isn't so bad, Heidi thought. Then the wedding march began. Aunt Sophie walked down the aisle. She heard a bouquet of freshly cut white roses on her hands. She took her place to Uncle Ned. The bride and groom exchanged wedding vows. bows and rings. Then they kissed. Ew! Henry said it a little too loudly. Everyone laughed and clapped for the bride and groom. Then the party began. Heidi and Henry danced on the lawn. They ate grilled hamburgers and double fudge cake with vanilla and cream cheese frosting. Everyone laughed and clapped again when Henry caught the bride's bouquet. Later on, Heidi and Henry blew bubbles at Aunt Sophie and Uncle Ned as they left for the honeymoon. Heidi sighed dreamily. I love weddings, she said. What? Questioned Henry. But I thought you hated weddings. Not anymore, said Heidi. Chapter 10, Harvest Moon. The next day, Heidi and Aunt went to Harvest Moon to buy some ingredients for Aunt brews. Harvest Moon had a regular grocery store items, but they also sold hard-to-find products that witches used in brews. Heidi got a shopping cart and stared into the store. So, how do you like being a flower girl? Asked Aunt Truddy as she pulled out her shopping list. It was so much better than I thought, Heidi said. I actually had a great time. Wow, said Aunt Truddy. What changed your thinking? Heidi shrugged. I don't know, she said. It was different from what I expected. How so? Asked Aunt Truddy. Well, I thought I was going to wear wrestling to wear a fancy dress and walk down the aisle in front of many people. But it wasn't. It was completely magical. Aunt Truddy smiled. I thought it was magical too. I'm glad you had a good time. Me too, agreed Heidi. I had the wrong idea about flower girls. Well, sometimes things are not always what we expect, Aunt Truddy said. No kidding, said Heidi. They high-fived. Then Aunt Truddy pulled a jar of bee pollen from the shelf and placed it into the cart. She checked her list. Heidi, would you find the bay leaves? She asked. I'll get them pickled ginger. Then we can meet for the checkout line. Sure. Heidi walked down a few rows and found the spice aisle. When she was part of the way down, she saw a man duck around the corner to the next aisle. He was bald and sewed a tuft of hair above each ear. Hey, thought Heidi, is that Principal Pennypacker? She ran down the aunt's aisle and peered down the corner. But when she looked, he was gone. That's weird. I've just been my imagination. Or was it? The end.